Hello, my name is Michael Garrick, and this is PoppinCulture Movie Reviews. My guest today is comedian and co-host of the Home Pros podcast, Tommy Donovan.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for coming on, man. The movie that we'll be reviewing is The Incredibles. Tommy chose the movie. This is 100% spoiler review. But before we spoil the movie, do you believe they should watch it?
Oh, absolutely. I think it's a very underrated movie, especially, we'll get into it, but there's on so many levels. It's a great movie to watch.
Yes, I totally agree, guys. It's a great movie to watch with your family. It's a great movie to watch by yourselves. It definitely is in like my top 10 of movies.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys. Everything past this point is 100% spoilers. I'll let you kick it off.
Oh, good. I actually took notes, and I was like, I don't know if I want to say this. I don't want to spoil it. I'd like to think that it's a movie that most people have already seen at this point, but you never know. But, I think it's a great movie. And I think when I watch movies, I like a movie that doesn't insult your intelligence. And I guess, and of course, most people think of The Incredibles as a kid movie because it is an animated movie. But I think the best compliment a movie can do for you as a viewer is present concepts to you and allow you as an intelligent human being to figure them out for yourself, not preach them to you like I feel like movies tend to do these days. It's everything is kind of gets into our conversation that we've had on the news where there's so much out there that tries to tell us what to think. I think movies tend to do that now. Even when a movie is released, they already want to tell us this is going to be the next Oscar-winning movie. You look out, Oscars. You're going to hear this movie again, and come February or whenever the Oscar season is. I like the opportunity to come up with my own opinion before anyone else tells me. So.
Yeah, I'm still one of those few people. I like to go to a movie blind. Like if it's something I know, like if it's something I hear about, and like Justice League, like I never watched any of the commercials. Like I would turn my head, I would skip through commercial, and then I saw it, and I was like, this is horrible. And then I watched the Zack Snyder version, and I was like, this is good. Like,
I haven't seen that one yet, and I really want to.
Just treat it like a miniseries. It's 4 hours.
Is it?
Yeah. So
I've heard it was long. That's one of the reasons why I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
But that's also the reason why if there's a movie coming out that I really care about or I'm really looking forward to seeing, I won't read the reviews because I don't want to be influenced. And
let me influence you, but don't watch the original. Let me.
Yeah.
If you want 2 hours of your life, trust me. Just
golly, and it's always a pleasant surprise when a movie comes out that you're like, yeah, I'll go see that. And then it exceeds your expectations. It's kind of like comedy. There's nothing better than seeing an open micer go on stage and you're like, wow, they're good.
Yeah. I think it is a two-sided coin. I talk about this a lot, but I have a friend, Josh, and I was like, bro, you got to see Anthony Jeselnik. Like, you got to see him, bro. He's funny. And it didn't click with me. Like, I knew Josh, but like I didn't know him well. Like, I didn't click. Like, he went to like a Christian school. He went to a Christian college. So Anthony Jeselnik is not his comedian.
Oh yeah.
So the whole time the crowd is busting up laughing, and I'm laughing. I turned to Josh, and when I say very nice guy, one of the sweetest guys you ever meet. When I say it's like he was looking at math, like he was doing a project. He was just like
trying to figure it out.
He was trying to figure out, like, hey, do y'all hear what I hear? Like, none of this sounds. He made a pedophile joke. Did anybody else hear this pedophile joke? Like,
what's funny about that?
Yeah, like, I mean, we're associates now. I haven't really hung out with him since then.
Yeah, that's funny.
I just remember one of the few things he said was, "Hey, Michael, this is what you find funny, all right?"
Yeah. And comedians can definitely be that way because that's the one thing that I've learned about doing comedy is you do kind of have your niche. Most comedians do, and I think that's one of the beautiful things about it is that it's more of a reason for comedians to not be threatened by each other. If you're going up there on stage and being who you are, you don't have to worry about anybody stealing your jokes or what they think about. If you're being Gary Shandling once said, whenever he's gone out and whenever he's gone off stage after bombing, he would ask himself, what was not genuine about what I did. He could usually find something that was not genuine to the audience, and that's one thing that I think the makers of The Incredibles did when they made this movie, to kind of get back on topic, is they genuinely put together a story that they cared about. And I think it transferred into the way the movie was made.
Yes.
I think if you watch the movie, and I don't know if these, what my impressions of the movie are, I don't know if they're original thoughts or if I've just heard them over the years. But the more that I think about them and kind of churn them over in my head, the more I'm like, wow, this was brilliant the way they did this movie. I figured why. I mean, some people would be like, why did he pick this movie? Part of it is because when I am on stage and doing comedy, usually there's some part of my bit where I'm talking about being a dad and being a husband. This might be hard. I might get emotional about this, but this was a movie that when it came out changed the way I thought about being a father.
Okay.
And it's kind of silly to think this is a Pixar movie. No, come on, this isn't.
No, it makes total sense because the father really, he goes from like fighting crime and that's his life to now like having a family, not being able to fight crime, and just like once he's able to fight crime again, it's just like he sees that like he'd rather be with his family. Mm-hmm. And that's just that difference of, all right, I'm a hero, now I'm a father, and now if I want to go back to be a hero, I know what's more important.
Exactly. One of the neat things that the movie does when it starts, most superhero movies start off with a big action sequence and a breathtaking explosion, the superheroes coming to save the day. The interesting thing that The Incredibles does is it starts with a sit-down interview like this, yep. Right? And so what do we hear Robert Parr, Mr. Incredible, saying? Yeah, I think I might want to settle down one day and have a family. I even have the quotes written down here where he's saying, where did I put it? Let's see. I wanted to make sure I got these quotes right when I actually I knew there would be a point when I'd reference them. Okay, so the movie starts in what's called the Golden Age. Mr. Incredible's being interviewed, and he's like, who wants to be super all the time, right? And then he says, sometimes I think I'd just like the simple life, relax a little, raise a family. And then you have Elastigirl, the next interview. And she's saying, settle down, are you kidding? I'm at the top of my game. Come on, girls, we can't leave the saving of the world just to the men, right? Next thing you know, their life changes.
Yeah.
And we come to find out after, lawsuits and everything like that, here are these superheroes having to live like everyone else. And now this has come to fruition, and it's interesting to see how they've reacted to that. Now Mr. Incredible, who's like, yeah, I think I'd like to settle down, he's miserable, yep. Right? And now here's Elastigirl having to settle down, and now she's, a mom. And I think one of the great elements of symbolism that they included in this movie was how their superhero powers were relevant to what their role was in the family.
Yes.
Right? So here's Mr. Incredible, Robert Parr, who's the strong one. He's there to support the family. He protects the family. And then you got Elastigirl, Helen Parr, who has to stretch in so many different ways to make sure the kids are at school, that they're at their soccer practice or whatever, that they're doing their homework, that dinner's made. And so that's her superpower, like a mom's traditionally has always been. And then you've got Dash, who's the obnoxious little kid who's getting into everything. You're always having to clean up. He's making messes, kind of like my youngest son. And then you've got Violet, who's just like both of my daughters, going through that awkward time in high school where, I don't want to be seen. I don't like the way I look. I'd rather be invisible. I don't want to reach out and meet new people. I'm going to protect myself, build a force field. And I think that's one of the brilliant moves that they did with the movie. And the interesting thing about them having to live in this world where superhero powers aren't allowed is they have these talents that all of a sudden they're not allowed to use anymore. Everyone has to be normal.
Yep.
And you see them struggling with it. And how do they depict that in the movie? Well, they make Robert Parr work at an insurance company where people are coming to him for help, and his own boss criticizes him for helping other people. He's like, but that's what I do, He's having to work in a teeny tiny cubicle that he can barely fit in. The car that he drives, he can barely fit in it.
It's eye-opening.
Yeah, it's a great symbol of how he has so much more ability that he would like to use, but he can't, and he's being held back.
Yeah.
And how many of us have felt that like that in our lives? And then the kids are even especially Dash is pressuring his parents. Come on, let me use my powers. And they're like, no, we got to be just like everyone else. And to a certain extent, I feel like that's kind of parallel to today's culture. There's so much influence by the media and by the cancel culture as well for people to be just like everyone else. Don't make any waves. Don't point out differences between this person or that person. And I feel like this portion of the movie is a good depiction of what can happen to a person's soul and their comfort level of who they are if they're not allowed to be who they are.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. Nobody wants... I mean, like you said, he was put into a box when he was like, no, I can bust through this box in a moment. And it's one of those things that shows, like, just how good of a character he is. Because the way I looked at it was like... Not that it wasn't other superheroes, but, like, they definitely portrayed him as, like, no, I'm more powerful than everyone. Like, I'm choosing...
I could squish you like his boss.
Yeah, like, I'm choosing to do this. But I really could like, none of this has to happen. Mm-hmm. I'm just that nice of a person. Mm-hmm. Even when he picked the car up, I believe, and the kid saw it or something, you're just like that eye-opening moment where you realize, oh yeah, like that's right. He is that he is that strong. Like he is that, if I wanted to wreck stuff, I could wreck stuff. When it comes to the pacing of this movie, this movie is paced perfect. It's an hour and 55 minutes, but I promise you it feels like an hour and 20. Just with the story development and every time it hits beats. Because what I like so much about it is, if you notice, in your opinion, you have notes, so I guess you know. Never mind.
No, go ahead. Ask.
Like, the villain doesn't really show until literally about the last 30 minutes of the movie. Yeah. And that, for a lot of movies, that's not a good idea. But for this movie, just the way they have different plot points, it works out perfectly. Plus, I take pictures with like everybody now because I don't want to make a supervillain.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
Yeah.
Well, see, here's the deal: is what makes this movie work so well is yes, it's a superhero movie, and that's I think that's one of the things I like about this movie is interesting on so many levels. Yes, it's a superhero movie. It's a really cool computer animated movie where they did groundbreaking things with visuals, and it tells a good. There's action and it tells a good superhero story, but at the same time, it tells a good human story too. And I think that's what happens in that first act of the movie. It grabs your attention, and you're connected to these characters. I was watching one of the commentaries. I'm one of these movie nerds who, if I really like a movie, I'll watch it a gazillion times, but at some point I'll also watch the movie with the director's commentary going. And there were scenes that were interesting. This was, at the time, Pixar's longest movie they had ever done. and they were, and I remember, Brad Bird, who was the director of the movie, was like, we're gonna have to cut out some scenes, and one of the scenes they were considering taking out was Dash getting in trouble at school for putting the tack on his teacher's chair, which is a brilliant scene. But they were worried that this movie's going to be too long. It's really a kid's movie. And John Lasseter was like, no, leave it in. That scene is so important. That one and the one after it, where Violet is standing outside the school by the stairs.
Okay.
And Tony Reidinger comes walking down the stairs, and she like disappears because she. That tells you a whole lot about who those two kids are. And then you have the dinner scene, and you see what you're doing. What they're doing is introducing you to each character and what their struggles are. And then you have the dinner scene where they're fighting as Dash is teasing Violet. And, of course, Mr. Incredible is so detached from what's going on in the family because his mind is on, God, I could be doing such greater things. And you feel bad for him. And you have Elastigirl who's trying to keep the dinner together as the two of them are fighting. It's something that we all relate to. We've all sat at one of those dinners, and we can see it, and we can attach ourselves to what's happening. It's human. It's innate to all of us. So I think you're right. It's one of those things where they do such a good job of including those elements to hold our attention, to care enough to wonder, where are we going with this? What's happening to these people?
Yeah.
And
And they stick with the golden rule, like you show, don't tell.
Yeah.
It's not a book. You don't have to describe everything to a conversation. You can definitely show, and that's why I'm glad they did keep the tax scene and then her going invisible when she saw in her the guy.
Yeah.
But right, you broke it like beat by beat.
Yeah, I kind of did. You have your different themes. Well, the themes I want to get to after we have, I guess, a chance to tell the story of the movie, which is the next act, if you will, is all of a sudden Mr. Incredible is getting presented this opportunity to go out and be super. Oh my gosh, and do it on a remote island where no one would know. It's not going to get him in trouble. Why not do it? And of course, his wife, this is the beauty of the way they portrayed this. You know, Mrs. Incredible or Elastigirl is like, nah, we gotta lay low, you know. So he tries to keep it secret from her. So they portray him sneaking out to go do this and sneaking back in as almost there's a parallel to him cheating on his wife.
Yeah.
And there's you know, in every relationship there's an element of that. So here we are again with a quote unquote kids movie, and we have an adult element. The best movies, in my opinion, are the ones that are not only relatable to the kids, but also the grown-ups. And here we are with Mr. Incredible going, all right, this is my opportunity to finally reach beyond what this world that I'm having to fit myself in. So, and you see this relationship between the two of them. There's one moment when I think it was one of the funniest moments. I think it's when they get back from. Or he was actually they were listening to Police Scanners with Frozone, and the two of them had a building fall on him. He comes home that night, and I love how he gets home and she goes up to give him a hug, and then she looks on his shoulder and goes, "Is this rubble?" Which is funny, you know. Normally it would be something different, but for it to be rubble. But yeah, so here's this opportunity to reach above and beyond what he can be. So he tries it, thinking that this is going to be my happiness. If I could just do this, then everything will be okay with the world. Well, and he does it, and then finds out through the process, skipping ahead, he's on the island, eventually finds himself a captive.
Yeah.
And he overhears a scanner or a radio transmission of Mrs. Incredible trying to come and save him. And he's thinking the plane's blown up. He's lost his family. And to see his despair and the way he reacts was a turning point. I like to look at the island, of course, if those of you who've seen the movie, the portion of the movie where they go out to this island is, I think, the turning point of the movie where they all start to discover who they all are. Here he is being held captive, thinking that his family is gone. Now it's kind of going back to the conversation we had about in the previous conversation we had about the news, funerals and weddings. Here he is thinking about, oh, man, that was what he later calls in the movie his greatest adventure. He was losing. He's in despair. He's realizing what was really important to him. It was his family. It wasn't beating up an Omni droid, right? Then we have, of course, we learn and know that Elastigirl and Dash and Violet make it onto the island, and it's time for Elastigirl to go try to find out what's going on, to rescue her husband. And that moment in the cave where she talks to the kids about, okay, now this is the moment where you need to stop putting up your force field, or actually use your force field.
Yeah.
Do you remember if before that, I should actually mention where the plane's about to crash or be hit, is about to be hit by a missile, and Violet doesn't quite get the force field up in time because she was so scared. Now here they are on the island in a life or death situation, which they did on purpose. They wanted the viewer to think there's a good chance this won't end well. And they want the viewer to think that, and they want the characters to think that. And it's time for them, now that the rubber hits the road, for them to come out and use these powers, these abilities that they never thought they would ever get to use. And the whole fight scene following this is where they learn, wow, look at my capabilities. Yeah. I can reach beyond what I even thought I could do. Yeah. And I can see my own potential. Yeah.
One side note, guys, just so you know, this movie came out, I want to say
2004.
Pixar wasn't Pixar now. So like in that time period, it was like they could die. Pixar was very still kind of new. Like it was just like it was a chance. We had no idea what may be coming.
That's true. It is. Anyway, I mean, we saw even in the scenes leading up to that, other superheroes were dying.
Oh yeah, the guy with the cape.
Yeah, Gazer Beam was in the cave too, and no capes. I remember that. Yeah. That's funny. But yeah, so here they were realizing their potential, and I think I had some notes on that too, where the turning points, the island, members of the family they're learning the value of these powers that they had. Elastigirl is now encouraging the kids. These are quotes from the movie where she's telling them, you have more power than you realize. When the time comes, you'll know what to do. Mom and Dad, this is funny. My favorite is when, was it Dash? Dash looks at Violet and says, Mom and Dad's lives are at stake, or even worse, their marriage, which was really funny. But you could see them expressing their fear, and eventually in the fighting leading or following that, Dash realizes he can run on water. Violet realizes she could put up a force field and deflect bullets, and Dash realizes he can run inside that force field, and they could be indestructible if they team up and work together. And then at the end of that whole battle scene in the jungle, who shows up? Mr. Incredible and Elastigirl, and the four of them are now working together, realizing as a team they're all of their true potential if they work together as a family. Yeah. And it was at those moments I was watching this movie going, this is pretty cool. Yeah. This is what being a family is all about. Everybody has their unique skills. Everyone has, I played youth sports, but I never really played anything on really even a high school or a college level. I've always envied the folks who have had the opportunity to be a part of a team and win something that is, like a championship or something. That's got to be the coolest feeling, to know that you've achieved something as a group. All these people utilizing each other's talents to achieve something great. And that's one of the things that being a family is all about. This is one of the things that this has taught me, or at least taught me as a young dad, is here I am. I'm having kids now. I think this movie came out after my second child was born. I have 4. But it made me appreciate what it's like to be in a family, because everyone has their roles. It helped me appreciate the traditional roles of what it is like to be the supporter of the family. And then, traditionally the mom has been the heart of the family. And here's Elastigirl kind of guiding the kids and helping them with learn their strengths and be comfortable with reaching beyond themselves. And the movie ends back at the city, and they're all working. God, it's just so brilliant the way they do everything. When they're in the RV, are we there yet? And they're, take this exit, not that exit. What? You told me to turn here, and all that. And then we get to the ending fight scene where Mr. Incredible's telling them, "Stay in the van. I'll go take care of this." And Elastigirl's like, "What?" He's like, I can't. And she's like, "You can't what? You can't. You can't stand being a hero without, whatever." And he turns around and says, "I can't lose you again." And this is where I get emotional over a cartoon. But I mean, it's just so brilliant the way they portray this. And I guess that's one of the things that's makes The Incredibles great on so many levels, because here we are learning how important these characters are to each other. We're learning the value of a family. We're enjoying an exciting action movie. And then the other thing that I grabbed from this movie that I really appreciate, there are these themes that I had written down, is it teaches you the value of finally getting to a point where and being okay with reaching beyond what you think your own potential is. That's another thing that is a theme in this movie, is it's okay to not be like everyone else. There seems to be so much influence in today's day and times to just go along and get along than it is to allow yourself and your own skills or opinions or thoughts to be placed out there. And then at the same time, as the receiver, there seems to be so much influence to go ahead and judge what it is this, that, or the other person is saying or doing, rather than appreciating that opinion or taking it for what it is at its face value and moving on. Where we seem to be wanting to place each other in these pegs that maybe we're not really fit for, just like they did to the Incredibles. They're forcing them to live in a world that they're not prepared to live in because they have abilities above and beyond. I'm kind of losing myself in my own thoughts here, but I think one of the things that as a person that I've learned over the years, in the last portion of the podcast, we were talking about being a mascot and some of the things that I did. Here I was becoming, if you didn't hear that part of the podcast, in college I was cocky, and I got that role following someone who won a national championship on the mascot level, and I wanted to do the same thing.
Nice. Okay.
So what I was so scared for about a year to try anything new or try to do anything funny or try to for fear of failure. Yeah. Well, I reached beyond that and actually achieved my own championship trophy, and there's nothing more fulfilling than realizing your potential. And I feel like that's what happens in this movie, is here are these people that are being clamped down. Now all of a sudden they have this opportunity reluctantly they do it and then realize, wow, I can be so much greater if I just give myself a chance, and if I give other people a chance.
Yeah.
Right. So that's just another one of those themes. And then we seem to be so critical of, well, you're different than me. I don't like that. Or there seems to be a lot of, in our culture right now, a lot of jealousy over somebody who is a success. I mean, Tom Brady just became the oldest NFL quarterback to win a Super Bowl. I think he has more than anybody else. And I think there are more people criticizing him than there were actually saying they were happy for him, which is kind of sad.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's good to just appreciate somebody for their own abilities, because much like the family unit, right? There are things that the dad can do better than the mom, that the mom can do better than the dad, that maybe some of the kids can do better than the parents can do. And it's a matter of working as a team and using each other's strengths. And that's why I've always thought it would be great with this. To give another plug, the feature show that we're trying to put together in Liberty.
Yeah.
To be able to put together a company of comedians who have their own strengths and weaknesses, and we can work together to create something bigger than all of us. It's just a cool thing to be able to see. But the one thing that I want to say that they do well with this movie too is we see these characters come out of their own when they're finally allowed to be themselves. But what do we see the villain doing? We have Syndrome, who's the villain, who's trying to be somebody that he's not. Yeah. He's trying to be a superhero, but he doesn't have any superpowers.
Horrible name too.
He has great intelligence, and if he would have used that gift for good, or for an intention that would have been for the greater good, that would have ended differently. What
if he got the picture though?
Huh?
What about if he had got the picture?
If he didn't get what?
Well, if he just got the picture, he just wanted attention.
That's true.
He just wanted attention.
Oh yeah, if he would have been able to be his sidekick.
Yeah. All he wanted was a picture, sidekick, just a little bit of attention, just a little bit.
That's a good point.
I'm saying, I remember, like, everything you said I got from the movie too, but that was the biggest thing, because I was just like, yeah, he could have given him a little attention. Like, he didn't have to really make him his sidekick the whole time. Like just a little bit of attention would have been okay, but that one just, and it also works with business, because that one get out my way could sooner or later be that person you need.
Could come back and yeah. So
it was just that was my biggest thing I learned from the movie, was just like, you never know, because he didn't think like, oh wow, this guy yeah, I know him.
Yeah. That's a good point. Is no matter, especially when you're getting into doing something like comedy, you're going to get fans. Yeah, I had the ability to open for a big time comedian a couple weeks ago, John Reap.
Yeah, congratulations, man.
Yeah, and he's a really good guy. And there's a whole story behind that. Actually, if you go to the Home Pros Radio Show,
please do.
Go to the Home Pros Radio Show, the YouTube channel. You'll see we've got videos on that. Also on his on his show, we talk about how we originally met, which was when I was the Panther at the Carolina Panthers, and I pulled him out onto the football field for him to showcase his talents.
Small world.
And then he ended up getting arrested, and I got in trouble. But check out those videos. I'll share them so y'all can see them.
Definitely do that. I'm going to watch that.
Yeah.
Wow, small world.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But it was interesting, because after the show, I was kind of hanging out with him as he was greeting all of his fans. And this one gal came up to say hi to him and everything. And it was funny, because his girlfriend kind of gave me a nudge, and she goes to every one of his shows. I'm like, what? And she goes, seriously. She goes, it doesn't matter where the show. He'll do a show in Florida, and the next day be in Missouri, and she'll be at that show. And it's like, and it's easy to take a fan like that for most celebrities to go, oh yeah, you must be wacko or crazy or whatever. But John treated her just as important as anybody else. Which was
her too.
Yeah. But I mean, it's impressive to see, even at that level, what the people who are successful in this business can do,
That's
and the way they treat people around them. And he's definitely a good example of that.
That's one hell of a long game.
Yeah, yeah.
That is an investment. If they ever start dating, not saying they will, I'm pretty sure him and his girlfriend have a great relationship. But boy, if him and that fan ever start dating, I would be like, you know what? That's goals. Like, that's somebody that had a plan. She had a dream board, and she stuck to it.
Mm-hmm.
So 1 through 10, what would you give this movie?
I'd give it a 10. I mean, I just feel like everything with this movie is done, and it may be because Pixar takes so long to make movies, they have enough time to think and rethink and think over again what they're doing. But I mean, I feel like this is a rare example where everything is in its right place. Everything is done the way that it needed to be done. There's not too much of this or too much of that. I feel like it's a 10. And I feel like, and the reason why I bring it up, I know a lot of people have seen the movie and think it's a good movie. But I think what makes this movie even more brilliant than so many others and worth the time of watching it is there's so much to take in at so many levels. I think it's a statement on family, which I've covered plenty. And the importance of it. It taught me what the value of and the importance of being a dad, of being a parent. But I also think it says a lot about our culture, about how it's in a day and time where we want everybody to be the same or equal. Well, maybe it's okay to let each other shine in our own. We preach so much about diversity. This is what confuses me. We preach so much about the importance of diversity, but then we'll turn around in almost the same breath and go, but we can't be more special than anyone else. Well, isn't that what diversity is all about? Is embracing each other's strengths and weaknesses and helping each other out and filling in those gaps. And being realistic with who we are. What Syndrome wasn't.
No.
He was brilliant, but he was trying to do things that probably, he could have probably used his talents in other directions and done so much better for himself. But then even for kids who are watching the movie, to be able to say, you know what, if I feel like I can do it and I want to try it, go for it.
Yeah.
You might realize that you can run on water. Those types of things, like Dash did.
Yes,
that's why I brought that up.
Yes,
you might not be able to walk on water. You're not Jesus,
yeah.
But that's the thing I was trying to put a parallel to, and you realize what's really important in life is those relationships.
I can imagine that being a comment.
Yeah,
I drowned after listening.
Yeah,
I almost drowned after listening.
I'm suing him. But yeah, celebrate our differences, push beyond our comfort level, and embrace convention, which kind of gets back to the family thing. This movie came out at a time when I was a young dad, having kids, and being pulled in other directions too by friends who were still either didn't have kids yet or were still single. And there was those decisions I had to make as a dad. Oh, I can't go out with the guys tonight. I need to take care of the kids. That's my job. So, there's a value to tradition and convention, whether you're a mother or a father or a kid, and embrace that because there are reasons why we have those institutions.
Exactly. I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but I'm in the medical field. I know who's by people's deathbeds. It's not your buddy that you had.
Thank you. Very good point. That's a very good point.
When it comes time for life insurance, I don't want to give it to my buddy here. I don't. And I swear, I love my fiance. I love her to death, but he putting her in the home. My stepson putting her in the home. I treat him nice. He want an extra cookie, I give it to him.
Yeah.
But when it comes to this movie, do you think that is a part of pop culture?
If it's a part of pop culture, I certainly do.
Yes.
I definitely do. Even when it comes down to the fact that in just about any Halloween, you're going to find a kid or two dressed up as one of them.
Yes. I've seen mostly Frozone, actually. And I've seen like families will do The Incredibles, but if it's just one person, I usually just see Frozen.
That's a good. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Nice.
And you know what I think is beautiful about Frozone is he has such a small bit part in that movie, but everyone knows him. It's probably because Samuel L. Jackson did it.
Yeah, whenever he's screaming, it's like, all right, that's Sam.
Where is my super suit?
Yes. Just that. It's just that small. But yeah, that was great casting. But all this was great casting.
Mm-hmm.
Even the women, the woman that made the suits,
Edna Mode.
Yes, that was perfect casting because I've seen the woman in real life. I think she's one of the people on CIS.
No, actually, she Edna Mode was the character was is supposed to be an homage to I forgot her name. She was a costume designer.
Okay,
she's not alive anymore.
Okay,
I can look it up real quick, but. Yeah, she was a famous, you could look her up, costume designer, wore the round glasses, and kind of had that kind of an attitude. You don't want to wear those hobo suits. Oh, gosh. I mean, it was brilliant.
And besides the boss, like, she was the other character that was just like, because I don't remember them saying she had any superpowers. It was just like, I can talk to you any way I want. Like, like I don't care what you can do. Like, it was just like, oh, snap. All right. Do people not realize who they're talking to like this? This is people that like literally are just here that want to save us, but at any moment, they do not have to.
Yeah. So, but that's. I certainly believe it's a part of pop culture.
Nice. Well, thank you so much for coming on the movie review, man. Is there anything you would like to say to your fans? And please tell me your social media.
Social media. You can find me at. You can find my. My podcast, the Home Pros Radio Show, you can find on the web the website is homeprosradio.com. We're on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. At Home Pros Radio is our handle, if you will. There, you can find all the videos and segments of our shows that we do there. Very helpful if you are definitely into if you're a homeowner. We like to homeowner. We like to help out anybody who's, especially new homeowners or anybody who has issues with their homes. You can reach out to us too. We answer your questions. And then as far as the comedy side, it's still in its fledgling stages, but I do have Instagram, Twitter, TommyD.comedy is where you can find me there, and I shouldn't advertise it, but should have the website going too once I feel like it warrants it.
Nice.
I've already bought the domain just to make sure I have it, but yeah.
Nice. Guys, definitely check out the podcast, and please, in North Carolina, South Carolina, if he's in your city, please go check him out. He's very hilarious.
Thank you.
No problem. The truth is the truth.
He is too.
He's lying.
We'll probably see us together if I have anything to do with it.
Same here. Thank you guys so much for listening, and have an amazing day.